The $9 mistake that followed him for 12 years. He didn't remember the exact moment it happened. That was the problem. There was no dramatic scene, no warning sign, no sinking feeling in his chest. Just an ordinary night, years ago, when he closed a laptop, stood up from his chair, and walked into the next room without knowing that something small, almost invisible, had just attached itself to his name. It was $9. Not a bill, not a loan, not a fine, just $9. At the time, his life looked like everyone else's. He was in his early 20s, recently graduated, working an entry-level job that barely paid enough to feel like adulthood. He rented a small apartment, cooked simple meals, paid his rent on time, and believed, like most people do, that as long as you weren't reckless, the system worked in your favor. He used a lot of online services back then, free trials, streaming platforms, cloud storage, tools he needed briefly and forgot quickly. One of them required a credit card to sign up, promising it would charge nothing if cancelled before the trial ended. He used it for a week. Then he stopped. He assumed that was the end of it, but somewhere between forgotten passwords and outdated email addresses, a single charge slipped through. $9, charged to a card he rarely checked, sent to an inbox he no longer opened, logged into a system designed to remember long after humans forget. The payment failed. The company tried again. It failed again. And then, without noise or urgency, the system did what it was programmed to do. It marked the account as unpaid, then overdue, then delinquent. No phone call came, no letter arrived, no warning felt serious enough to register. Life moved on. Years passed quietly. He changed jobs. He moved apartments. He upgraded phones. He built a life without ever knowing that somewhere, inside databases he would never see, his name had started to change. Not in reality, but on paper. The first time he noticed something was wrong was not dramatic either. It was subtle, almost dismissible. He applied for a credit card with better rewards. Something simple, a small upgrade. The application came back denied. That surprised him, but not enough to panic. Banks reject people all the time. He assumed it was a mistake, or timing, or something technical. He shrugged it off and kept going. But the denials didn't stop. A year later, he applied for a car loan. Same result. Another year, a personal loan. Same answer. No explanation, just a generic line, based on your credit profile. That phrase followed him like a shadow. He started checking his credit report. That's when he saw it. A closed account. Marked delinquent. Unpaid balance, $9. It didn't make sense. He stared at the screen, scrolling up and down, convinced there had to be a mistake. $9 couldn't be real. It couldn't matter. It couldn't be enough to explain years of rejection. So he called the number listed. After navigating automated menus and holding music, a representative finally answered. Calm, polite, detached. Yes, she said, after pulling up the record. The account was closed with an outstanding balance. But it's $9, he said. I didn't even know this existed. I understand, she replied, but the balance remains unpaid. He paid it immediately. $9 left his account in seconds. He felt relieved. Embarrassed, maybe, but relieved. He thought that would be the end. It wasn't. Because paying the money didn't erase the record, the account stayed on his report, the delinquency stayed, the timestamp stayed. According to the system, he had ignored a debt for years. According to the system, that behavior mattered far more than the amount. He started learning things no one teaches you. That credit isn't about money, it's about patterns. And the pattern attached to his name said, unreliable. The problem wasn't the $9, it was the silence around it. The longer the system waited, the worse it looked. And because no one intervened early, the mistake matured into a permanent mark. Years later, when he was finally ready to buy a house, the story reached its breaking point. He had done everything right, or so he thought. He saved, he budgeted, he avoided debt. He built stability carefully, step by step. When he walked into the bank, he believed this was the moment life was supposed to reward responsibility. Instead, the loan officer paused. She leaned back in her chair and frowned at her screen. "There's an issue," she said. He already knew what it was. She explained it gently, like someone delivering bad news they didn't cause. His credit history showed a long-standing delinquency. The amount was small, but the duration was severe. "From the system's perspective," she said, "this suggests long-term neglect." Neglect. Over $9. The loan was denied. That night, he sat alone and replayed the timeline again and again, trying to find the moment where he could have stopped this. But there wasn't one. There was no alarm, no red flag, no human intervention, just automation. That's when anger replaced confusion. He started calling companies, credit bureaus, customer service lines that routed him in circles. Each one pointed to another. Each one said the same thing. "We're just reporting what was provided." No one owned the problem. Everyone owned the process. One representative admitted something quietly, almost apologetically. "If it had been caught earlier," she said, "it wouldn't have mattered." But it wasn't caught early, and systems don't forgive late. The years continued to add weight. Job background checks flagged him. Insurance quotes came back higher. Even simple applications took longer. He wasn't accused of a crime. He wasn't called irresponsible, but the system treated him as if he were. That's the quiet cruelty of modern bureaucracy. It doesn't need to accuse you. It just adjusts outcomes. He began to realize something unsettling. The system doesn't measure intent. It measures data. It doesn't know who you are. It knows what happened near your name. 12 years after that forgotten charge, the mark finally aged off his record. No apology, no notification, no acknowledgement. It simply disappeared. But the damage didn't. The opportunities he missed didn't return. The years of stress didn't refund themselves. The system never recalculated his life based on context. It just moved on. Today, when he tells this story, people laugh at first. $9, they say, that's it. He laughs too, because that's the point. It wasn't about $9. It was about how something small can become permanent when no one is watching. It was about how silence can do more damage than punishment, and how systems designed for efficiency forget the humans moving inside them. The scariest part isn't what happened to him, it's how easily it could happen to anyone. Because somewhere, right now, another small charge is going unnoticed. Another email is being ignored. Another name is being quietly rewritten. And the system is very patient.